In overall, Carlsbad structure was considered to be in favor of white, and black tried number of other options here, trying to resolve the problem of bishop c8 immediately. For instance, c7, c6, and after e3, it even played bishop f5. So it looks natural, but after queen f3, black has to accept the fact that the pawns on the king side will be badly damaged. But it's an endgame, and there are two bishops, and some players like Nigel Short, for instance, believe that this structure is quite playable for black, and Short, and for another one was Rafael Vaganian, who played it even earlier. In my view, white keeps an edge, and there are many games being played. Nothing convincing for white, but I would prefer to look at the position from white's angle. I have to also mention that there was an attempt, sharp attempt. It's a game Smyslov-Pachman played many years ago. I think it's 1956 in Moscow, when black tried to play queen b6 here, and then after queen a5, queen takes b2, queen c8 check, king e7, knight takes d5, cd5, queen c1. It occurred that, despite both kings are misplaced, then eventually white had a solid advantage, because d5 pawn proved to be a decisive weakness. Also, black has a possibility here of playing queen b6, trying to start an immediate assault on b2 pawn, and after queen c2, for instance, playing knight e4. But those lines proved to be not sufficient for black to create an efficient counterplay. Also, we have to mention that white could play immediately queen c2 here, and then there is an option of playing knight a6, trying to use white's queen on c2, preparing knight b4, but it's also, in my view, was not sufficient to guarantee black a comfortable game. But also, just let's not forget that black knight on a6 does not have to go on b4 by all means. If white just plays a3, knight goes on c7, e6. And here we have to mention a very important, fundamental idea that was introduced by Swedish Grandmaster Gideon Stallberg. So the idea is just, when we look at the classical position, so was to, c6, e3, say bishop e7, bishop d3, knight bd7, and say knight f3, knight f8, trying to save a tempo, because then the rook f8 square is not occupied by the rook and should waste time on rook e8. Queen c2, knight e6, bishop h4, g6, and then knight g7 and bishop f5. As you could see, this very long and complicated maneuver was aimed to resolve the main problem of Queen's Gambit decline, the problem of bishop on c8. After knight g7 and bishop f5, eventually the bishops, white square bishops are exchanged, and black enjoyed a comfortable game. In many other lines of Carlsbad structure, this maneuver is being, black is employing this maneuver as the main idea of solving the problem of bishop c8, and also exchanging the bishop on d3, which plays an important role in keeping an eye on e4 square. That's it's an own term, is a very important stronghold for developing black initiative, a potential initiative on the king side. So that's why playing knight a6 in some positions, it could be not only a possible intrusion on b4, but preparing the same idea of knight c7, knight e6, g6, and knight g7. So by looking at all these different situations, we could also conclude that white has slight strategic initiative. That's why black eventually in this position at move 3 after knight c3 had a clever thought. Why not to prevent this exchange on d5 followed by this pin or bishop g5 by developing bishop first, playing bishop e7, which The idea that was popular in 60s thanks to Boris Spassky, who played it quite regularly. He was not very keen on playing classical Carlsbad structure, so he played bishop e7. In fact, it was even played before, and we can look at several games of the match Botvinnik Petrosian, where Petrosian wisely avoided playing the classical Carlsbad structure, which was but one of Botvinnik's favorites for many years, in fact for several decades, and also chosen bishop e7. So in 60s this line was very popular, and eventually it was employed by Karpov, who played it against Korchnoi, against myself, and now it's still popular. Also white, instead of just going to the line knight f3, knight f6, which is a transposition to the classical Queen's Gambit, played cd5, ed5, and bishop f4. So it's again Carlsbad structure, but slightly different, and we just have to recognize the differences, which could be quite formidable, because now after c6, e3, bishop f5, black bishop is comfortably developed. But we just keep these positions in the group of what we unite under the name of bishop f4. So we'll talk about different structures, both on Carlsbad and in a classical Queen's Gambit, with white bishop developed on f4, and that will be a separate segment, a separate part of our investigation.